And there is a lot of regulation, which is great.
Yes.
Sure.
A great
Dealing with loved ones' money, sure.
Right. And we have to be regulated by the state insurance and also the Funeral Director Board and Consumer Affairs.
Sure.
So there are plenty of people watching. So I think if I had to make one point, whoever you pre-plan with, whatever funeral home you use, that your money is basically safe in the state of South Carolina.
That's wonderful, Al. Yeah. Well, that's wonderful. Folks can still make some plans outside of the state. If my parents are living in North Carolina,
sure,
for instance,
and that's a frequent question. You know, what if I move, or what if I want to change locations or something?
Sure.
You can transfer these pre-needs. It's you don't have to go through a lot of paperwork. If you move from one state to the other, take your pre-need paperwork to, here again, funeral home of your choice.
Right.
Show them what you have, and they'll file it and follow their state laws or whatever. So
well, let's think about if funeral home A, if my mom really wanted to utilize funeral home A, and for some reason the funeral home decided to go ahead and close up, if they've been in business for years and we'd utilize them for the pre-need, is
right.
that just as easy as transferring from state to state, or how would that work?
Yes, it's just as easy. Probably one of the funeral homes in the area would automatically take over those pre-plannings. If that was not the funeral home of your choice, Greg, then you have the option of taking that and putting it at a funeral home.
Right.
So more times than not, the funeral home receiving these pre-needs would send the families a letter,
right,
letting them know where their pre-need is and that it is safe. So,
are there a lot of costs associated with transferring my pre-need if I'm at funeral home A and want to transfer to funeral home B?
Occasionally, because
right.
There may be a new funeral home in town and someone goes to a service there and they see the job that they're doing and like the facilities, or may know the funeral director that's moved from A to B,
right.
and trust him, and then they feel a calling. So
sure.
I kind of see funeral directors in the same parallel as ministers. It's a calling for these people.
Oh yeah.
It's not a job. It is definitely a calling.
Mm-hmm. And clearly, unfortunately, no one wants a job. They really want a calling. Folks are yearning for that.
Yes.
They need to feel that.
They want somebody they can trust, somebody that will take care of their mom and dad,
right,
and do a good job, taking care of their loved ones.
And speaking of that, is it most common to plan for mom and dad, or do you see folks oftentimes? Is that the most common?
That happens a lot. It kind of runs in several different areas. A lot of times a couple will retire and we'll see them come in wanting to take care of everything.
Right.
The biggest question I always heard was, is this respectable? We want to do something respectable. Here again, they're controlling what they want and the money they want spent.
Mm-hmm.
The second phase would be someone coming in for mom or dad, where it's come time, sadly, to put mom or dad in a nursing home. That's when we start to see the children come in for the parents.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I've seen people come in and do it for their children, totally unknown that by their children at that point in time, and vice versa, children come in and take care of it.
I was about to ask how I'd go about to pre-plan, let's say my daughter who's 5, if I wanted to begin laying that out now. Are there some advantages to pre-planning for a child that young?
Yeah. Generally, most companies will not take a pre-need until they're about 21.
Is that right? Okay, good.
But here again, people have children in college and whatever. But yes, you can, as long as you have the right to insure, which you have
very important. Yes,
kinship or something of that nature.
A lot of folks, and you may not be the best person to talk to, Al, but you deal with a lot of funeral homes around the Carolinas.
Right.
What does it cost to plan for a funeral today, Al?
That's probably the first question you get when people realize what I do for a living or a funeral director. What's it cost today? And I always use the analogy, it's kind of like going out shopping for a car. If you're looking for a Cadillac, it costs X amount of dollars.
Right.
If you're looking for a Volkswagen, then that's the difference. Your best bet is to go in, again, to a funeral home of your choice and choose exactly what you want, because it's a very personal thing to which casket you may want, which vault you may want, what type of service you want.
Sure.
Full traditional services tend to cost more than cremations, and so there's a lot of difference.
When you say a full traditional service, Al, we got about 5 minutes just for viewers who it may be very foreign to them to hear, or they haven't been to many funerals in their lives. Full traditional versus cremation, for instance.
Full traditional to me is where you have a visitation the night before, either at their church or at the funeral home, chapel.
Right.
Next day you have a service and a graveside service.
Okay.
So we would call that a full traditional. Some people choose just to have a graveside service. Other people may choose cremation, but then you have a choice whether you want to have a memorial service with a cremation or how you want to do it. So there is a lot of decisions to be made here.
Okay.
And again, pre-planning takes all that away from the children. They don't have to make all these decisions.
Oh, yeah.
They don't have to worry about paying for mom and dad's service. So it has many, many, many benefits.
And of course, is pre-planning for cremation an option as well? I mean, is that,
yes,
or is it
and
just
a lot of people are confused by that and say, well, I want to be cremated, so I don't need to do anything. But if you plan to be cremated, yes, you need to pre-plan that also, because here again we come down to whether you want a memorial service or whether you want a direct cremation. Basically, what are your wishes at this point in time? So,
very important to go ahead and nail that down anyway.
Yes, right.
Whether you take advantage of Southland National or any other insurance provider, it's important to go ahead and nail that down so your loved ones, or so you've made that decision. But folks can change their decision later on.
Oh, sure, and they can go back to the funeral home, to the funeral director, and make any adjustments that they feel like they want to change. And you have a lot of times they may go to a service and see something different and decide that's, what they'd like to do.
Do all funeral homes charge the same thing, Al? I should have asked you that earlier when I was asking you about the cost and why or why not? What is...
That's a good question. No, they don't, because they all have different needs or in different areas and whatever. There are some big consolidating funeral homes out there that tend to charge a little bit more.
Oh, really?
Most of your independent funeral homes, even though they don't charge the exact same price, they're probably within a range. So here again, pick the funeral home your choice. Most funeral directors, most funeral home owners will work with their families to make it affordable. But to say each funeral costs $8,000 and you can go anywhere in town and buy one, no. So
that is not
it comes back to your choice.
So if I have pre-planned, let's say I'm age 50 and I pre-planned for a traditional funeral and pay for a plan that would cover a traditional funeral, and at age 70 I say, we don't need a traditional full-blown funeral. I'd prefer to just be cremated or
you would go in and make your wishes known at that point.
And would there be an opportunity to get some, I hate to say it, but get some money back? Al, is that?
Yes, there would be.
Right.
So, if the family, most funeral homes will give any leftover money back to the families.
Yeah, not to highlight that, but it's important surely for families. I'm sure a lot of them want to know, because cremation has become such a popular choice. Why do you think cremation's become so popular?
Several reasons. One may be an economic reason. The other, some people just don't want to go through the full traditional thing. A lot of times here again you have the older people retiring somewhere and the kids may live up north or whatever. Cremation is simpler for everyone.
Right.
So
that's fascinating.
Here again, it's a very personal thing. And think of what you want, think of how much you want to spend, go to who you want to go to, and you can take care of the whole thing. And most funeral homes will offer you an inflation-proof guaranteed
That's great.
service.
And Al, what keeps you so motivated in traveling the Carolinas? You're dealing with more than 200, many more funeral homes around the Carolinas. What keeps you so motivated?
Because it's very interesting. Walk out of one funeral home, walk into another, then you're in totally different situations. 99.9% of the people I deal with are great people to deal with, honest, basic, and even though I'm not working in the funeral home, I feel like I'm doing something to help people, even though it's through the funeral home and through the funeral director.
Through their time of greatest need,
And
absolutely. Al, thanks so much.
Thank you. I appreciate
time.
you.
Thanks so much for
okay.
being with us this morning. Stay tuned to more Carolina People with Regional Manager Al Burleson, Southland National Insurance Company. Coming up next. You know, I'd like to think of myself as a good interviewer, but there's probably still a heck of a lot more questions I could have asked. You're sitting at home, you wanted to ask Al. You know, we got into what is a pre-need, what are the benefits of pre-planning. You heard him say it. The most frequently asked question he gets and most funeral directors get, how much does a funeral cost today? What are the costs going to be for me? If you want to begin planning now and get a better potential pricing, go ahead and plan it out. Get into the funeral home, as you heard Al say, of your choice and make these decisions. Team up with somebody. Southland National also has some great frequently asked questions on their website, southlandnational.com. You can read more about the company, probably learn more about some of their tremendous regional managers, just like Al Burleson, making a difference every day. Al, thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Appreciate you having me.
Very definitely.